guys, my name is Chad and I want to welcome you back to the Garage Rot YouTube channel. This week we are going to be attempting to make our own seat pan for the GS 1100 out of fiberglass. Now I've never done this before, so I'm going to be straight up with you. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing, but that's what makes it fun. If you guys missed last week, we actually welded on the seat hoop in order to be able to build this seat pan today. And we also welded on some little gussets underneath the seat hoop. Where I left it off last week, I kind of showed you guys a rough finish. I did do a little bit more grinding and smoothing on it to try to smooth stuff out. So let's go take a look where we left off at, and then we'll try to get a game plan together on how we're gonna proceed with this seat pan. So last week, before we welded on this seat hoop here, the frame was cut off about right here. So we actually just tackled welding this hoop on, and then in order to kind of finish off that look, rather than just, blanking that off and stopping that right there, just go ahead and continue on this kind of triangular shape here, gusset if you will, to finish that off and come all the way up to here. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Come over here to the inside. You can see the same thing. This side as well. We just got kind of a smooth look to it. So now we're ready to build this seat. So I feel like I've got all the supplies laid out here that we're gonna need for the seat pan. Most important one being coffee. I think we're gonna need quite a bit of that, because I have no idea what I'm doing. So this stuff here, we've got some wax paper, some plastic wrap, some trash bags. That's kind of what I'm thinking about covering the rest of the bike with, and putting a layer of something underneath where we're going to be laying the fiberglass in order to have it kind of release nice and easy once it's cured. Of course, we've got some fiberglass mat, got some fiberglass resin, a brush, a cup to mix it in, a stirring stick, and some gloves. That's what we're working with. The first step's going to be, we're going to need to cover everything that we don't want covered with fiberglass. Now, I'm gonna have to leave the tank on there because I need that in order to have an idea of where that seat pan is gonna stop, and we kind of need the fiberglass to form to the tank. So we're gonna leave the tank on there, but we need to cover it up. That's what we're gonna do first. I'm gonna throw you guys in a time lapse and I'm gonna get after it. Alright guys, so if you're gonna try this on your own, the wax paper was a horrible idea. This stuff did not work. Get it out of here. On the other hand, plastic wrap, saran wrap, that did work really well. Wound up just going around the frame a bunch of times over and over and over and over again until we finally wound up with a pretty solid flat surface. Let's go see what we got. So yeah, here's what we were left with. As you can hear, that's pretty solid, and it actually left a pretty flat surface. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Now, I did cover the tank with the trash bag there, and I feel like because of the way that this bag is, it's one of those stretch bags, that this might grab onto the fiberglass a little bit better. So I think I'm actually gonna rip that off and do some saran wrap around there. And then maybe we'll just use the trash bags to cover up the exhaust ends and the shaft drive there so we don't get any fiberglass in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and tackle that now. Okay, so I used the saran wrap to go around the tank as well. Now what I'm thinking after looking at it is this gap here I kind of have in between the tank and this frame rail here. I'm kind of thinking of filling that in with something, or to kind of help mold it to have a slight gradual kind of swoop up there. So I took the lid of the plastic wrap box and actually kind of put that up there. And believe it or not, that kind of actually seemed like what I was thinking. What I may do is just go ahead and tape this down on the top and bottom, and then go ahead and go over that with some more plastic wrap here. So let me try that. Alright guys, so I'm pretty stoked with how that piece of the plastic wrap box worked to actually fill in that crevice between the tank and the frame there. It actually did a pretty good job of that. You can see now we've got a good gradual radius up to the tank here. That's what I'm thinking right now. However, I'm not sure how that's gonna look, finished product. So we're just gonna kind of have to see once we get this thing made. This is one of those things to where I could just sit here and stare at this thing and think and think and think and think, and finally maybe come up with an idea that might possibly work. Or I just jump in head first and kind of cross those bridges as I come to them. That's kind of the route I'm going here. I feel like if I just sit here and think on it too long, I'm gonna way overthink it, and then I'm not gonna get anything done. So we're just gonna tackle it. If we decide that going all the way up to here with the seat pan looks goofy, we'll just cut it off, you know? It's better to have too much than not enough. Remember that. Especially when it comes to plastic wrap. I mean, hopefully the wife doesn't notice that missing. Hopefully she's not like wrapping some leftovers or something, you know, or taking some food to a party, because I might be in the doghouse because I definitely stole that from the kitchen because I kind of forgot to get some for myself. So don't tell the wife. So yeah, guys, the next step is we are gonna go ahead and mix up some fiberglass. We're gonna add some hardener.
You know where the plastic wrap is?
What, honey?
Plastic wrap.
I haven't seen it. Don't know where it's at.
What's missing?
Shit, guys. Which one of you guys told her that I took the fucking plastic wrap? I'm gonna be paying for that one later. Anyways, like I was saying, we got this part taken care of. Now, we're gonna go mix up some fiberglass, add some hardener, get some fiberglass mats out, and boom, bam, boom, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We're gonna have a seat pan. Boom. Okay guys, so the way I cut this matting, I wound up with 7 layers that I cut to length. Well, I have this put here so it's close enough for me to reach from there. So this should be relatively streamlined. I'm gonna mix up some resin. I'm gonna lay my first sheet down, and then we're gonna put some resin on top with a paintbrush I have over there. And then we're gonna continue to repeat until we've used up all these layers and we've got everything good and molded the way we want to. Let's go ahead and jump over there to the table. We'll mix up our fiberglass resin with our hardener, and then we'll get to laying. Guys, right away I had to open both these garage doors. This stuff is stinky. Boy, nobody else in these videos I was watching was talking about that. This stuff is stanky though. But let's go take a look at what we got. So there it is. I mean, it looks pretty darn good right now. Obviously, we just laid it down, so it's still wet. But we were able to take care of this area around the tank. I had to kind of cut the fiberglass mats at an angle there to kind of get it to wrap and form around the tank on both sides, as well as right at the end, I wound up putting 2 cuts right here just to kind of help relieve that. It was kind of causing a wrinkle across the middle there because there's one of those grommet holes that the side cover butts into. And then back here, I just kind of tried to push down around the edges to kind of get it to form a little bit to the tooth. I'm happy with how this looks, but there's one big question left. And that big question is, how is it going to look once it gets hard?
That's what she said.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to find that out tonight. I'm just going to let it set overnight and all day tomorrow. When I come home from work, I'm going to get after it. All right, guys, checking out this seat pan. It really seems to have turned out pretty well. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so there it is. It actually turned out really well. It's hardened up pretty good. You can see a little bit of a spot here that's kind of shinier than the rest. The only thing I can figure is that it might have been at the very end, and maybe there wasn't quite as much hardener mixed in with that. It's not soft or anything, though. It feels solid all the way through, so I think we're going to be good. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. It's actually really flat. You can see one little wrinkle there in the middle, and I think the main reason for that is because, like I said, there was these little spots here where the grommets are for the side panels. If those weren't there and that draped over the frame rail like everywhere else, I think it would have been perfect. But honestly, I don't think that that's the end of the world. Nobody's ever going to see that anyways. This is going to be covered with foam, obviously, and the seat's going to be covered. You're never going to notice that. So not too worried about that. The next step is going to be to go ahead and pull this bad boy off of there. Well, we'll see how easily it comes off. Hopefully it pops off as easily as I think it's going to. And then we'll be able to trim off some of this excess. So let's go ahead and jump right into that. Guys, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here and really jinx this thing, but man, did that seat come off of there easy. I think next we're going to go ahead and get some of this extra cut off and then do another fitment, see how it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and throw you back in a time lapse and we'll get to it. All right, y'all. Man, I am wore out after all that hacks on, man. Went ahead and did that by hand, got the excess cut off of there. So our next step is we want to get our shape really dialed in of the seat pan. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that back on the frame here. I'm going to draw some more lines around it. And then I actually brought some power tools home today. I've got a little Dremel tool. I think that's gonna work pretty good for cutting this stuff. So after we get those lines marked out, we'll take it over there. It's raining outside, but we'll take it over by the garage door, set it up to cut over there, so hopefully most of that dust makes its way outside. So let's go ahead and get to that stuff. Time to cut. Oh. Boy, that fiberglass is some serious stuff to cut. Now, I've gotten it pretty darn close with what I've just cut off, but I do still feel like there's gonna be some shaping needing to be done. So let's walk over and we'll throw this back on the bike. Man, I like how that fits up there. It fits pretty well. So we need to see what we can trim up still and just smooth out. So let's have a look. Okay, so there we are with a bunch of the excess cut off. You can see here, I at first thought having this kind of hang down over this frame rail would kind of look good, but then I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I think if this is just merely just sitting right on top is gonna be best. What I'm gonna do is, you know, try to get this all the same all the way around to where it just starts right, you know, at the top of the tubing. Now, once we get up to the tank here, this is where it gets a little bit more tough. You can see my line that I initially, drawn here. I think that still may hold pretty true. I think we're just gonna kind of follow where this winds up being and then just kind of taper that up a little bit to the top. This is a little bit crooked here, so I'm gonna try to square this off to the tank with a straight edge and get a good solid mark here, and then we'll try to smooth that out. And as I said, from here we're just gonna kind of do a slight radius down so that all looks kind of fluid there. All right, guys, I think I'm finally done with shaping this seat pan. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Let's take a look at it. So here she is. I actually was planning on letting this overhang the frame rail here, but I decided to go ahead and leave it up here at the top. I think that's going to give us the best look, and I feel like I've got it pretty darn even. You know, I might do a final little touch up with some hand sanding, not so much with the grinder, with some power tools, just to kind of smooth it out real good. But I think that's pretty dialed. So next week's video, we are going to be taking care of the latches on the seat. We're going to be getting that sorted out so that the thing will fasten down to the bike. We're going to be adding the foam to the seat and shaping that, as well as making our seat cover. So definitely come back next week and check that out. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Things are getting exciting with this build, guys. We're getting closer. Every week we're getting a little closer. We almost got a seat on the bike, and then we'll be ready to take it for a little test rip. And then we'll have some other stuff that we're doing as well. So definitely, if you're into the build and what's going on, be sure to come back. Give me a thumbs up, like always. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of this seat. Also, let me know what you guys want to see in some future videos, as well as if you've got any recommendations for what you want to see on the bike. Drop that down below. Until next time, guys, ride on. Later.